What's going on, everybody? Welcome into 76ers Now. Jake Chipper here with you, and we got a bunch to get to here on today's show. First, a new Quentin Grimes update from NBA insider Jake Fischer. Fischer also has some more intel on the Kelly Oubre and Andre Drummond trade rumors. Adem Bona's Eurobasket play, it has come to an end. How did he perform with Turkey? We'll dive into that. And speaking of Eurobasket, could the Sixers find the next Gershon Yabusele, a player who just won the gold medal at Eurobasket with Germany? We'll dive into all of that here on today's show. But before we do, we're sitting here on Monday, September 15th, roughly halfway through the month of September. We've been racing Boston Celtics today. My good friend Tyler Smith over there in a September sub battle. We had the early lead at the beginning of the month, but we have fallen behind only by 6 subscribers. So lock us in, hit that sub button, help us beat these frauds over at Celtics today. And at the end of the day, you are a winner because you get Sixers coverage all year long. The best place you will find right here on YouTube. All right, let's get started with the latest on Quentin Grimes. Now, of course, we know the Sixers, the restricted free agent, have yet to come to terms on a new contract, and the days keep going by, and we don't really hear a whole lot very often. But Jake Fischer with a new update today that Grimes and the Sixers really still not close. When it comes to Quentin Grimes, though, there has been no tangible movement to relay when it comes to his ongoing restricted free agency stalemate with the team, despite what appeared to be a glimmer of positivity when Grimes recently published a picture of himself in Sixers red on his Instagram. Here is that image that we talked about the other day when Grimes did post this on his Instagram story. We thought maybe it was a sign that things were going well with Grimes and the Sixers. Maybe a deal was coming closer to fruition. Does not seem to be the case, as Fischer has updated us that still there really hasn't been much traction on a potential deal. And look, as we talk about these big four restricted free agents, right? All these guys took a long time for them to get contracts with their teams. 2 of those dominoes have fallen. Cam Thomas signed the qualifying offer with the Nets. Josh Giddey got a bag, $25 million a year from the Bulls, leaving Quentin Grimes and Jonathan Kuminga as the only 2 restricted free agents without a contract. But sounds like Kuminga might be getting a deal sooner rather than later, because Shams Charania reported today through ESPN that the Warriors have upped their latest offer to Kuminga to a 3-year, $75 million contract with a team option on the 3rd year. That comes out to about $25 a year, which is exactly what Josh Giddey got. Now, this had some Sixers fans a little bit worried, and Jacob Moreno of Sixers Sense to do a great job over there talking Sixers as well, really laid this out pretty perfectly, and I really had the same thoughts when it comes to Grimes. It would be troublesome to the Sixers if Grimes' camp saw this offer, the Kuminga one, and Josh Giddey's offer, both at $25 million a year, and remained intent to ink a similar deal. Now, I agree that the Sixers, no way they're giving Quentin Grimes $25 million a year. But look, if Grimes' camp does see that and says, well, wait, we think we're a similar kind of player to Kuminga, to Grimes, or to Giddey, excuse me, these negotiations could just hold out even further. But look, they can't go on that much longer at this point, because October 1st, just a couple of weeks away, that is the deadline for Grimes to accept that qualifying offer. So we'll come to a resolution here shortly. Just before that October 1st deadline, the Sixers do begin training camp just about under 2 weeks here. So you figure things should pick up over the next couple of weeks. But, of course, that remains to be seen. We'll see what his camp wants. We'll see what the Sixers want, if they can come to some kind of an agreement here shortly. I want you to predict it for me. As I mentioned, we're just under 2 weeks away from Sixers Media Day and the start of training camp before they head to Abu Dhabi to play the Knicks in a couple preseason games. Will the Sixers and Quentin Grimes agree to and offer a new deal before the start of training camp? Just give me a simple yes or no down below in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts down below. So let's get now to after Quentin Grimes, Andre Drummond, Kelly Oubre. If you've missed it, you've been out of the loop, Drummond and Oubre have been the topic of some trade rumors over the last couple of weeks here. It's been reported the Sixers have been looking to move one or both of them to free up money for Quentin Grimes. That was reported by Jake Fischer, and now he's kind of walked it back just a little bit. Philadelphia has explored the potential trade landscape at various points this summer for Drummond and Oubre to theoretically create some additional financial flexibility to make the re-signing of Grimes more comfortable. Maybe a move does materialize for one of those vets at some point, but I must stress the Sixers do not appear to be operating with some sort of clear-cut directive to trade either player at the moment. So no deal imminent for either Oubre or Andre Drummond. And for Oubre, I never thought it made sense to move him in a cost-cutting move. Now, if you're making a trade and you want to upgrade at that spot, sure, I'm fine with that. But it never made sense to dump Oubre's salary because he's too good of a player to just trade away to clear up some money. Now, for Andre Drummond, I would have been fine with it, making about $5 million. You have Janai Barum, you have Adem Bona behind Joel Embiid. So I'm not against moving Drummond. But, if he's back and they do it pertaining in this season, I'm interested to see how he performs. He was really injured all last year. Maybe with a healthy season, he can have a bounce-back type of year and play like he did in his first stint with the 76ers as opposed to last season. So we covered the latest Quentin Grimes update and some updates on the Oubre-Andre Drummond trade scenario. Still to come, we got to talk about Adem Bona and how he played over in Eurobasket this past month and some change. And speaking of Eurobasket, a player who could become the next Guerschon Yabusele here in the next year or so. But before we get to both of that, a very special deal and a limited time offer I got to tell you guys about on this dope 76ers hat with the skyline in the front. You see the throwback logo on the side, and I love this cream black color scheme as well with that script on the front. Today only, Monday, September 15th, if you're watching this on the day this video comes out, this hat, you can get it for 25% off if you use the code TACKLE at chatsports.com/SixersHat. Again, chatsports.com/SixersHat. Use the code TACKLE. You can get the hat down from $36 to just $27. A very popular item. It's going quick. I actually already bought my own because I love this hat so much, and it's a great deal. You're not going to get a better deal than this. Again, chatsports.com/SixersHat. Code TACKLE valid today only for 25% off. All right, so let's get to Adem Bona, who has been playing for Turkey at Eurobasket over the past month or so, and Turkey made a great run to the gold medal game. Unfortunately, they fell just short, lost to Germany in that gold medal game. But look, Adem Bona had a pretty good, not just championship game, but a pretty good run as well in that final game, which they did lose in a close one. Bona had 12 points, a perfect 5 of 5 from the field, and 2 blocks in pretty limited action. And look, across the entirety of Eurobasket, the 9 games he played, didn't get a ton of minutes. He's playing behind Alperen Şengün, who might have been the best player at Eurobasket, period. And these games are already shorter than NBA games, so not going to play a ton. But look, 5.5 points, 2 rebounds, very efficient from the field. We know all he does is his damage at the rim and just over a block a game. I think, you see a lot of the highlights coming out and some of the splash plays he made and the individual impact he made in some of these games speaks a lot more volumes than just the raw counting stats that we just showed you. Bona's going to have a much bigger impact on this Sixers team this year than he did last season, although he got more run as the season went on and, the injuries piled up and he had to play a lot. I'm very excited to see what he has in store for year 2. Very athletic, a great defender, has showed flashes of doing more offensively, and we know being Joel Embiid's backup is probably the most important backup role in the NBA, especially if the Sixers do move off of Andre Drummond. You draft Janai Barum. Bona's going to have a big, big role to play for the Sixers this season. Good to see him getting some experience in some pretty important games over there playing in Eurobasket. Show some love to the Sixers' second-year center out of UCLA. If you are excited for year 2 of Adem Bona, show me by hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. And we'll round out today's show with some more interesting news from Eurobasket. Could the Sixers get ahead on potentially finding the next overseas phenom, next Guerschon Yabusele in Isaac Bonga, who just won and beat Adem Bona and Turkey in the Eurobasket Championship with Germany? Now, a very interesting story here for Bonga, someone who was in the NBA years ago and has been overseas the past few years, kind of rebuilding his stock and his brand of basketball. And in Eurobasket this year was really, really good. In 9 games, played over 23 minutes a game, put up nearly 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and was very efficient from the field. But where he really, really excels is as a defender. And that's where coming into the NBA a few years back, that's where he had all the tools. It was offensively where he struggled. The offense has come along, but the defense, as you can see here, he was voted as the best defender in all of Eurobasket and didn't win the Eurobasket MVP. They have two different awards. They have the MVP for all of Eurobasket, which went to Dennis Schroeder, but he also won the most outstanding player in the championship game alone. So a pretty impressive run for Bonga. And a little bit more background on the player. Look, he's kind of your typical 3-and-D wing. Now, coming into the NBA, he did not have that three-point shot, but he has developed that three-point shot, and we'll get into some of those advanced numbers here in just a few minutes. But look, he has a size of 6'8", 180, a little bit, skinnier, not quite as built as some of these other guys that are 6'8", but he's put on muscle over the past few years, and he's still only 25 years old, despite not having played in the NBA since the 2021-22 season. Again, he has that NBA experience, as I mentioned, and look, the career just never really worked out. He was actually drafted technically by the 76ers back in the 2018 NBA draft, but it was a draft day trade, so rarely it was the Lakers pick. But a cool note there, the Sixers did technically draft him. Look, the numbers you see never really came along. The three-point shot was never there. He spent time with the Lakers, the Wizards, the Raptors, just never found his footing in the NBA. But his big problem, he had the length, he had the athletic tools, he was a really good defender, and he could really guard all 5 positions. Now, in the NBA, probably more 1 through 4, probably won't be guarding centers in the NBA, but can really be a very versatile defender, as he always has been. But he was never a good three-point shooter. But since leaving the NBA, the past few years playing overseas, Bonga has been a 38% three-point shooter on over 500 total three-point attempts in that time frame. That is consistent. That is what you want to see out of a player developing his weaknesses, especially, in a league like the NBA, where if you're going to be a player like Bonga and you're going to be a 3-and-D, that's really going to be your only role. You got to be able to hit your threes, and you got to be able to defend. And he has shown so far, and especially during this run at Eurobasket, now not quite as much press and coverage as Gershon Yabusele got playing in the Olympics last season, but Eurobasket is still a huge, huge overseas tournament, and he played very, very well. Now, the only difference here with him and Gershon was able to come over from overseas to the NBA last season. Obviously, Philadelphia signed him, and now he's with the New York Knicks. Bonga, from what I gather, cannot sign this year. There's been some discrepancies on his exact contract details online, but everything I've gathered, he cannot sign this year with an NBA team. His NBA buyout with his overseas team has expired. There's a chance that maybe if the team pays enough money, he can be bought out, but more likely than not, this is looking ahead towards next offseason. But you can still kind of get ahead on this, keep tabs on the player, and look out, because again, he's only 25. He'll turn 26 this year, a guy you can look out for next offseason to make a return to the NBA. Mark Stein did say he's been getting some buzz and some love from NBA organizations. So what say you if you're Daryl Morey, if he's even here next year? No guarantee Morey is running this team next season. Would you look to sign Isaac Bonga next year, or even this year if he somehow is able to become available and sign? Give me an S for sign, a P for pass, a pretty intriguing 3-and-D wing. All right, that'll do it for today's show. A lot to get to. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did and you're still watching, I encourage you to hit that sub button for more videos like this nearly every single day all year round. Just about a month or under a month now, just a couple weeks until training camp and preseason. So stuff's really going to start to heat up. So make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you next time right here on 76ers Now.